cigarette break rant. Oh, gotta get my coffee. Apologize. Why didn't I edit that out? Because I'm doing this from a phone. Times are hard, you know. I'm an artist. There ain't much of that going on where I am. Cigarette break rant tonight. I think I want to talk about being bipolar. Because I've spent years in communities and in groups and even one-on-one with individuals, talking with individual bipolar people, and in group therapy and everything, and in communities on Google+, talking a lot about the different ways people approach dealing with that in their lives, and prescription drugs and diet and exercise and sleep management and all the same things that seem to be common threads among everybody. So I think I've learned a lot through studying other bipolar people, and I think in a lot of ways, just from talking to other people who've done the same thing, other people in what I call the tribe of bipolar people. There are some friends of mine out on Google+, for example, that do a lot of research. I mean, just aching amounts of research on neurology and psychology and, you know, philosophy and spirituality and how it all fits together. And I really respect their opinions. So not only have I learned from the tribe itself and like talking to them and laying my own story out there, but I've learned from some of these really sort of deep knowledge powerhouses that we have in the tribe. And I think that amount of knowledge and that time of experience, and I think these guys would agree with me, is more valuable than what our doctors have. And we've learned a lot of common threads about each other. What runs through, you know, at least very high percentages of the tribe, if not through everyone. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. That's kind of how the whole idea of that term, the tribe, came about, because after years of just sort of communing with other bipolar people, you learn that there's a lot of common threads, to the point that it almost makes you think, is this really a disorder, or is this just like a brain type? Is this just something that has a difficulty fitting into the structure and the culture as we've currently defined it? Or is there something actually aberrant or different about us? I'd be interested in hearing what other bipolar people have to say about what I'm saying here, but because believe me, there's a great diversity too. Even though there are common threads, there's a great diversity. Because people are going about it different ways. Prescriptions, you know, some people don't manage their diet, some people do, some people use alcohol, some people don't. Some people are in bad relationships, you know, that and continue to expose themselves to all kinds of triggers. And we are sort of like we're people who kind of have our emotional volume turned up, so emotions are more intense for us. So relationships and triggers can be things that are just running us off into all kinds of emotional patterns. I guess what I'm saying is it's complicated being us. And we can kind of understand why doctors don't really understand us. We can kind of get why they don't get us. But that's also why a lot of people resist sort of their methods of treatment, because we don't even feel like they get us. And so what has all this knowledge brought to me about being bipolar? I think that the answers, if there are any, to us becoming more functional and more like stable emotionally in society, I think the answers lie with us. I actually think it's other bipolar people that are going to have to figure this out, because how many decades have they been medicating people into complete oblivion, destroying their organs, changing their brains, and the success rates on those therapies are really quite poor, even though the side effects are that severe. So it's not as if conventional treatments are working. You know, we have to seek kind of a totally different path for our kind. And I say that because, you know, there's too many common threads for us not to be a kind, I think. So I guess I'm encouraging other bipolar people to like do a lot less existing inside your own head. Do a lot less existing inside your own heart and your emotions, you know, and getting caught up in that whole vortex. And start talking to the tribe. Start talking to each other. Start talking to other bipolar people and establish like a level of trust, and then see what you can find out about common threads, see what you can find out about things that worked for one of you or the other. Because I just think things are going in really a bad direction for our team if we don't start doing a little self-management. And I'll get into what I mean by that in some future videos, but I mean, like, the trend of forced commitments and the trend toward people wanting to take certain rights away, and I don't know, man. I don't think that's the answer, and I just think if we don't start coming up with something better than the doctors have come up with, the future looks tough for us. So start talking to each other, and let's see what we can figure out. Because in particular lately, I've had a lot of trouble with my family. I've had, and that's one of the common threads. Almost every single bipolar person I know has had an impossible time explaining to them explaining to their own family, mind you, people that they lived with and grew up with and traveled with, and, you know, who knows them better, and yet they can't even explain to them what it is like to be neuro-different. And that's what I call it. Got that from Mark Paul Rubin. I think it's the right way to say it, because it isn't broken. There's nothing really malfunctioning in our minds. We're quite clear at times. We just have trouble managing our emotional patterns, really. And we're easily sucked in like a moth to a flame to anything that's going to give us that fast mind that we want. Because there's power in it, frankly. They don't tell you that part, but there is. I think a lot of the musicians and artists and scientists and philosophers, for that matter, that I respected my whole life and was attracted to my whole life before I knew I was bipolar, I think there's a long list of bipolar people that have done some pretty stunning things in those areas. So there's a level of accomplishment and a level of value to what makes us different. And I think we can either sort of accept what they want to do with us, or we can start defining it for ourselves. And the best way to do that is to talk to each other and rely on each other for things that work. And in that vein, you know, Mark, Paul, Rubin, and I do have a community out there, a couple of them actually. We have Open Neurodiversity and on Google Plus, and we also have Pharma-Free Bipolar. So in Pharma-Free Bipolar, we talk about strategies that work outside of prescriptions, and we don't debate the whole meds issue. We don't debate like whether we prefer meds or not and why. We just talk about things that work outside of prescriptions, like exercise and meditation, yoga, stuff like that, diet. There's a lot of stuff. But in Open Neurodiversity, it's more like general. So there's a couple communities if any of you guys want to get involved. And I'm doing the video basically so that maybe I can capture a few of you. Because like I said, we better start driving our own bus or else we're going to be in trouble. So, plus, I just like to, if I'm going to be standing here smoking anyway, I figure I might as well talk about something. So if you're interested, leave some comments, you know, about like what is it